we're going to jump right in. And basically, what I'm going to show you guys is how to best utilize your AI tools, so that way you can actually use this practically in your business because there's so much stuff out there. It can get a little confusing. And so I am going to recommend two tools to start with. My main tool is Manus, which you can see right here. Okay, now this app is incredibly versatile because not only does it work remotely, like on a desktop like this, on a web-based app, but its mobile app also speaks to it perfectly. Unlike other AIs like Claude and I'm not sure about Gemini, but some of these other AIs, even ChatGPT, some of the more complex tasks that you do, like for example, the coding side of things, doesn't always stay in like a cloud to where you can access it at any time. So what I'm going to start with is how you should first set up your AI. So when we think about AI, we always think it's so intelligent, it can do everything at once. And that's actually not quite true. So AI fundamentally is very good at making assumptions and guessing and using knowledge from research to inform its decisions. And so to get the most out of AI, we want to be very clear on how we want the AI to operate. So we want to basically give it a job and a role and have it really hone in on a very niche and very focused task. So that way it can learn in those tasks and it can learn how to optimize in that one role without a bunch of distractions. And the more detail you can get, the more niche down you can get in the scope of what you want it to do, the better results you'll get. All right. Now, when you first get your AI, you will get a screen that looks maybe a little bit different like this. You're not going to have all this stuff on the left-hand side. Now, we'll start with Manus because it's the easiest. And like I mentioned about setting designs, the first thing you want to do is start your organization. And the way that we do that is in projects. So if you look on the left-hand side here, you're going to see I have multiple projects. And the main ones that I have, and you can completely copy these if you want, is my first project is Sales Master. So anything that I'm going to do related to sales is going to be in this one folder. Now, why this is important is if I go into the folder, you will see that inside of it you have instructions. Okay. And then you can add all your connectors, files, and sources, all this great stuff. Now, the reason why this is important is most AIs, now Claude's a bit of an exception, but most AIs don't carry over a ton of memory between different tasks. So if you want to have like that same kind of knowledge base and same type of niche down direction, then you can put those instructions in the project. So that way, any task that you do inside the project, it has something to reference. Okay. Now, in each project, you'll notice it has skills. So these are basically things once you have it do a task and you like the output of it, you can have your AI remember that as a skill. And that skill can then be added into any single project anywhere else that you want. Okay. Um, you'll see Manus has a website. So you can add built-in websites that you've made inside the app to basically track everything going on in the project or do custom dashboards that you want for every single thing that's in the task. And then scheduled tasks would be automations. So if you have it running like follow-ups or if you have it doing email checks or whatever it is you have it doing, all of that stuff will be here. Okay. Now, the first thing you need to do is set the instructions. So as you can see, this is where you want to be the most detailed. And if I open up my instructions for my sales master, you can see this is very, very, very detailed. So the first thing we're going to do is give it the role. You are the ClearWave Water Solutions revenue and SDR orchestrator. An SDR is basically a sales setter. Okay. Your purpose is to turn scraped website visitors into booked water health and home project consults and profitable installs while protecting the SDR timeline. So we'll do our company and offers, kind of talk about our ideal clients, legal and compliance, data integrations, geography where I want them to operate in, how to score leads, routing rules, all kinds of stuff, right? And this is basically going to be based on your specific industry. But to templatize this for you, you want to start with the role number one and then the purpose number two. So role define how you want it to think and operate. The purpose is the full scope and scale of what you want it to do. After you have all of that, you want to set the limitations, which are basically like, hey, don't do this or respond to me in this way. So, for example, I tell my AI, do not just respond to me in a way that is gratulatory and just agreeable. I want my AI to push back on my ideas, so I tell it to do so. And then the formats you want it to export things out to. So I want you to do deep research and then export things in PDF as default. And all these settings can be changed in the individual tasks. But this gives it like a great brain. Okay. So then as you can see underneath that, I have a bunch of different items. So I favorite the ones I use the most, so they're easy to access. But you can see I have it making my Facebook ad manager and a landing page. So this landing page, by the way, is going to be this whole prompt will be in my new book that's coming out. So if you guys want to catch that, I'll put some links somewhere. Also, I'll be putting all these in my free school community as well, which I'll link below if you want to check the stuff out. But basically, this landing page prompt that I made is super powerful because as you run Facebook ads or you run ChatGPT ads or any type of social ads, you may find that you need different landing pages for different ads. They tend to convert better. So with this, I can literally type it in. Hey, I need you to make this type of landing page for me, and it'll spit it out right away because it already has the templates. Just to show you what one of these looks like, if I open this website up, you can see this is a very professional looking website. Okay. It's got video testimonials, reviews, and this took me maybe 5 minutes to build. Okay. So very, 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 very easy to do. You just have to be very clear on the instructions. We'll go more deep on that in a different video. But before we do that, I just want to give you guys the overview stuff first. Okay. So that's basically the how you want to structure things. Now, I would always recommend making your projects the main things of the business. So sales and master, I have mine set up for Facebook ads and landing pages, and then any type of reach outs. Media and content, same thing. So I have a design master to make my design work, a photo editor to edit photos. And this kind of goes into when we talk about really niching down on what the AI does. You can see this design master and photo editor seem similar, but they do completely different roles, right? So the design master is going to be mainly for like my brochures, my PDFs, really high-end design work for my systems, right? And then my photo editor is going to be more so like I want you to just make thumbnails or photos and things like that, or for my school community, make the logo for that, right? So all of this stuff, when you niche it down and give it separate jobs, I'm telling you the results are just so much better. So you can see I'm doing that even in as granular as photo design stuff. Okay. Um, Also, admin tasks. So I have a payroll app on here, which I'm not going to open up because there's a bunch of sensitive information in there. Business compliance stuff. So we do a lot of sales and use tax for our business. Being a home service provider, we have different businesses and licenses and all kinds of stuff that we have to work with. Um, so because of that, I have stuff that helps me stay compliant and automated. Now, one thing you might be noticing, and I'm going to bring this up now, is inside of the task, you'll see that it's pushing stuff to GitHub. Now, if you don't know what GitHub is, it is basically a code repository that all that means is it holds all of your codecs in one spot. Now, why that's important is if you do all of this stuff inside of Manus, you are now reliant on the AI that you're using. Same thing if you're using Claude or Gemini or whatever. Now, the risk of that is if, God forbid, one of these AI shuts down, you're kind of SOL with everything that you built. So by having GitHub, you essentially have a Google Drive for all the stuff you build in your AI. Okay. So that is going to allow you, the worst case scenario, to have a backup so that way you don't lose everything that you've built. And so for me, I push everything to GitHub as a as a protection. App development. So this is probably my most powerful tool that I've used, using what are called PWAs, which is basically a website app. And so this is what I built our client app on and my scripting site. This client hub, by the way, guys, I'm going to be going deep dive in my portal, but this thing manages my upsells. It manages service requests, FAQs, client communications. It's got like an Asana style task board in there, concierge service plans, everything in there, loyalty tiers. This thing is a beast, and I will be giving away this prompt for free. It'll be my school community as well. If you see here, you can kind of see a preview of it. This thing is amazing. One gripe I had with my CRM is my CRM is really good for like collecting payment, setting installs. I use Jobber. It's not very good at reminders and project management and making sure customer journey stuff got done. So you can see we made a task board here to basically model Asana. And so this thing's really, really powerful. Um, You can see I have a bunch of automations in here too. So these are the tasks I talked about. Manus is really good about this stuff. Okay. I have an inventory and installation app that we made. So again, split from total app development because I wanted the knowledge base to be very specific here. So you can kind of get an idea of what you can build here. My core rule is whenever you're going to do a major task, we're going to be changing something, give it its own project. And then what you can see down here, there's all these non-tasks. Most of these AIs have a filter, so you can filter by your favorites. You can do what's ever shared, or you can filter by nothing. And you can see all of these stuff are basically automations that are just running in the background. So I don't really look at these that often. Now, the last thing I want to talk about with Manus that I think is really, really helpful, that is I haven't seen on any other AI that I like a lot, is this agent. So Manus does a really good job of acting like an executive assistant with you and really being a legit agent. So I don't know if this will load on here, but there we go. So this agent app is really, really, really powerful because it will get attached to a Telegram account. So if you download Telegram, you can do a connector between Manus and Telegram, and you can literally just speak to it on your phone and say, "Hey, I want you to do X, Y, and Z," and it does it. And so it is a way to have an executive assistant that also runs in your AI space. And then on the desktop app, you can give it the same types of rules and stuff that you do normally. And then you can also do it through your phone app. The last thing I want to talk about with Manus is this Manus desktop. So you can see here I have these cloud computers, and this is what's really cool. So by having a cloud computer, it allows Manus to open up its own desktop and save its own files separately. It's called an EC2 or an electronic computer. And this basically allows you to work on two separate computers, and then it can do agentic type of work on its own browser, save on its own settings. And as long as you have that connected, that computer will migrate across different tasks. So remember before how I said, most AIs, whenever you do a certain task, they don't communicate. Well, as long as you have that same computer on every single task, it can pull knowledge from everywhere. And then finally, the plugin section, almost every AI tool you're ever going to use will have some sort of a plugin section. And this is just where you can connect all of your tools. Now, if your specific item doesn't have a connector, so for example, Jobber didn't have a native connector or plugin, then what you can either use is Zapier to bridge the two, or what you can do is you can go to the developer settings inside of these tools, and it will actually go ahead and do stuff for you there. The cool thing is AI will actually train you on how to get to these developer side tools because I didn't know how to do it until I had AI do it for me. So that's going to be the big thing I want to bring up too is if you're a contractor and you don't know AI will teach you. Okay, so you don't necessarily have to spend all this money learning AI. You have to ask AI, hey, this is the task that I want to get done, teach me how to do it or do it for me. Claude launched Cowork, which we're going to talk about here in a minute. But Manus can also do something similar where it can take control of your browser. So if you don't know what to do, just have it do it for you. It's pretty awesome. Um, and then as you use these AIs, if there's stuff you like, there's skills you want to save, you can save them down here. So like SEO, competitor analysis, keyword search, all this great stuff can be saved here. Okay. So that is Manus in basically a nutshell. Not very complicated. So if you followed along so far, you should be good to go. Now, what's great is these skills will translate. So let's now go over to Claude. This is the second app that I use. Now, you might be asking, what is the point on having two different AIs? Well, I have found from testing different AIs, they have slight variations in which they're better at. And for me, I feel like Claude does slightly better when it comes to reasoning or it comes to doing SEO strategy or anything written or anything that's going to go on like a PDF or a text or doing research. I feel like it does a really, really good job of. So you'll see that just like Manus, Claude has a very similar setup. So you look in the left, you have projects. So same thing that Manus had. So you can see I have these different projects here. I have a sales master, I have an organization, I have CPA finance. Um, and then you have code. So one thing to note about Claude is Claude has Claude Chat, which is what you see here, where you just chat to it like you would normally. But they actually integrated co-work, which means if I want it to do something for me, I can come into a new chat here, and I'll wait for it to load. You can see you have right here, you have chat and you have co-work. Oh, shoot. Get rid of that. So you have chat and you have co-work. So co-work is where it'll actually take control of your desktop and do work for you. So this is one of the main reasons why I love Claude over some other items, even over Manus, is because Manus can take over browser stuff. Claude can take over desktop stuff. So if you marry both of them, you can basically have Manus and Claude work in tandem to basically do anything that you would do in your day to day. Now you got to be careful because it does make mistakes. And so you can see I had this send out a cold quote email campaign because I have this connected to my MailChimp. I also had it track my monthly revenue off of Discord just so I could quickly see it. So this is, just some small stuff that you can use it for. Um, you can have it look at certain project folders on your desktop as well to get better results. So if you have like a bunch of content somewhere and you say, hey, I want you to organize all this content and do all this research on it and cut it into clips, you can do that. Uh, that's and that goes into the next thing. These AIs are so powerful, you can do anything that you want with them. Okay. So I, for example, have had Claude go into my Premiere Pro here and actually cut out and make edits for me. All right, by using Cowork. So if you can think it, AI can probably do it. And I would ask you, if you're going to use these AIs, is to whenever you get a problem, think, how can I solve this with AI? And just see how far you can push it. And by doing that, you'll unlock all these different things that you can do. Um, so much so that you can build things like your own sales agents. So this is probably the biggest thing I use Claude Code for. So Claude Code is essentially what Manus does as far as the agentic stuff. So this is like the code builder, the website builder, all that good stuff. Now, I will say I feel like Manus is easier to use than Claude Code. So you'll notice if you look at my Claude Code compared to my Manus over here, I have way less stuff built in code. And I think that's mainly because of how it deploys. With Manus, it can just deploy automatically. You don't need to really have any third-party software. With Claude, you kind of have to. So it's a little bit more of a headache, but it's still very powerful. So I'm going to show you guys something, just to show you how powerful this is I built a sales AI. Now, if you guys have taken any cold calls, you guys have probably been pitched by a ton of companies to say, hey, we can do AI implementation for you, make you an AI sales agent. And the reason why I don't like that is because that agent isn't going to have the context of your business. Okay. So what I did is I took and I wrote a 200-page playbook of all of my scripting, all of my sales, all my objection handling, and built a sales AI agent. Okay. And it was as simple as saying, hey, I want to build a sales AI agent that can do X, Y, and Z. I want you to respond to leads. I want you to handle objections. I want you to do all this stuff. I want you trained on my systems. Execute. And then I gave it the playbook. And then through iteration and testing, you get this. So what you can see is this thing will chat to people in real time as they come in, and it will do follow-ups in real time. And so I can see all the leads that come in, who is unresponsive, who chatted, and who it booked. So this thing literally handles all of my input sales. So everything that a setter would do, this thing does, if not better. Okay, because it knows how to handle every single objection. Now, the only thing that you have to watch out for is the bugs, right? When you first start something, there will be bugs. And as you can see, it's reaching out to people and all that good stuff. So very, very, very powerful for what you can do here. And you can customize this to however you want. You can have reporting, attribution. You can really go crazy with this stuff. Okay. So that is really it, guys. This is not super complicated. Now, the last thing we're going to touch on so you guys don't blow all your money is what model do I use? So if you look at every AI, and we'll start with Claude, you'll see Claude has all these different models. You have Fable, Opus, Sonnet, Haiku. And then you can do effort, right? Faster to smarter. If I go over back to Manus, if I go to a new task here, you can see same thing at the top. You have Manus 1, 1.6, 1.6 Lite, and then 1.6 Max. Now, Manus 1.6 and below are free right now because Manus is actually getting away from Meta, that partnership is being unwound. So now it's going to be their own independent company again, which could be great. We'll see how it goes. Um, but if you use the higher end engines, it really depletes your credits insanely fast. And so I got into a trap early on where I tried to use the max one as much as I could because I really wanted to make sure I got the best results. And what I found is you definitely don't need to do that for every step of the way. So what I would say is if you're ever going to start a new big project is when you want to do the max amount of effort. So for example, the apps and dashboards that I showed you, the very first time you start building these things, use max until you get a minimum viable working product. Once you have something that works, you have all the core components in there, like the data's in there, functionality's working, there's no real big bugs, design looks fine. Oh, it's connected to everything you need to be connected to. Then you can drop it down to the lower models to do things like UI improvements, small updates as things happen, right? You do not need to stay on the max whatever for whatever AI you're using. Um, just do it for the initial. Because trust me, I've burned some serious capital doing that. So uh, I hope this was somewhat helpful for everybody. I wanted to make this quick and actionable. And one thing I'll say is don't use 1,000 different AIs because then you'll never really get good in-depth knowledge of whichever one you're using. Stick to one. Use one AI and learn it really well. And then once you learn that well, you can go to a different AI. I will say, as a home service owner myself, Manus has been the most useful, especially because if I'm in the field, if I'm doing all these things, this app 1,000% saves me a ton of time. So, guys, I hope that was helpful. If you guys want help implementing some of these things, you want more detail on how to do these, if you need help running it in your own business, join the school community. We'll help you there. There's a bunch of other resources there as well. You can also shoot me a DM at jwatergod on Instagram. I got you guys back for life. Now, if you've stuck around this long, I'm actually going to do a live prompt with you for this exact video so you can see a little bit of how I like to work inside the AI. So let's go to Manus. All right, let's go to my photo editor, and here we go. And for this, guys, I use Whisperflow, which is this little app down here. This thing, you can just speak into it, and it makes prompting and doing everything so much easier. Okay, I just recorded a YouTube video where I cover AI implementation for home service businesses. I specifically cover Manus and Claude. What I need you to do is we're going to go back to designing the YouTube thumbnails. So remember the last ones that you made and all the knowledge that you had on the YouTube thumbnails on how I like those designed. And with that in mind, what you're going to do is you're going to create a thumbnail that has my face on it and then has um, AI in big letters to the right of me, maybe with some electrical stuff coming out of it, it kind of glowing a little bit blue to show AI. And then for the tagline for the I think we should say something along the lines of for the text, I mean, we should say something like how to implement or implement now actually might be more of actionable. And then I'll come up with the title for that in the future. Okay, so you can see that wasn't like the best prompt ever. And I actually have this on the wrong thing. I have this on max, which I shouldn't have it on. It needs to be on number one, so I'll switch that now. But yeah, so this is gonna do its thing. It's gonna be start thinking, and then it's gonna start pushing through. And you may have noticed as it's generating, it says generating an image with GPT image 2. The cool thing about these AIs is they tend to use the newest and best AI generator for whatever is making the best photos right now. Nana Banana 2 was one of the big ones that was going a few months ago. Um, if you don't like a certain image generator, like let's say you don't like GPT image 2 or you prefer Nana Banana, you can always tell it to use that instead of whatever the default is. Okay, so this is the result that we got, and it looks okay. I don't know if it's my favorite, but I want it to be more tailored, I think, actually, to contractors and home service professionals. So. So let's change it. Okay, we're gonna change this a little bit. The image itself looks fine, but the image of me, I'm just kind of looking away. For the YouTube thumbnail, make sure I'm looking directly at the audience, similar to the other ones that we made. Um, the car in the background is totally fine, and I want to change the subtext. So we'll do AI for home service owners, and then make another one, a thumbnail for AI for contractors. How to implement now. Great. So now I'm going to have it make some iterations, and then I'm going to use the iterations to A/B test on the actual YouTube page. Okay. And just like that, we have two different variations. And now we can put these out into my YouTube, do A/B tests, and you can see that was very, very quick. That is just how fast you can really get this stuff done. All right. Hope that's helpful, guys. Peace.